I'm going to do cat-cow today.
Oh, yeah.
Get the whole spine moving.
Yes.
And I'm going to pin myself. Hello. We have cat-cow as our marker pose today, and we're getting ready to start our guided awareness. So welcome and come down into Shavasana if you're not there already. And if you are, just take a nice, long, deep in-breath. And have a long, gentle, easy emptying. And another. And simply notice how your body feels settling into Shavasana, yoga's relaxation pose. And begin to notice your toes, all 10 toes, all at the same time. Notice your toes and feet outside and inside. And become aware of your ankles in and through the length of both legs. Lower legs, knees, and thighs, into your hips and hip joints, outside and inside. And taking the awareness and noticing the space between your hips and hip joints, across the base of your pelvis, outside and inside. And then bringing your awareness up into your belly, outside and inside. And then becoming aware of your chest, your whole chest, including across your collarbones and the fronts of your shoulders, outside and inside. And drawing your awareness down your arms into your hands, noticing your fingers and thumbs, hands and wrists, in and through the length of both arms, lower arms, elbows, upper arms, underarms, and shoulders. Hands, arms, and shoulders outside and inside. And drawing the awareness from the shoulders to the shoulder blades, noticing your blades and the space between them. Become aware of the back of your ribs, waist, hips and buttocks, sacrum and tailbone. Being aware of your whole back, your whole torso, front and back, outside and inside. And bringing the awareness from your torso through your shoulders into your neck, face, and head. Outside and inside. Being aware of your whole body, outside, inside, all at the same time. Allowing Shavasana to have an effect on your body, your mind, and more. And then becoming aware of your breath. Now, on your in breath, there is an expansion, and on your out breath, there is a softening and a sinking back. Notice how your breath moves through your throat. And begin to narrow your inner throat passageway slightly, using your inner throat muscles, not your neck muscles. Begin to come into your ujjayi sound and simply listen to the sound as it moves in, as it moves out. Slow down your breath so the sound becomes quieter and more internal. smooth out the flow of your breath. So the sound is smooth and steady from the beginning through the middle, all the way to the end. Have the same sound on your inhale as your exhale, and your exhale as your inhale. Let the sound of your breath have an effect on your mind as well as your body. As you simply listen to the sound, smooth, steady, and slow. A secret sound that only you can hear. One or two more Ujjayi breaths. And then you can let your inner throat muscles soften and your natural, easy breathing pattern to resume. Notice where and how your breath, this easy breathing pattern, where is it moving for you now? Or any other awareness that you may have from doing this Ujjayi practice. And then bring your knees up to your chest. Hold your knees for a couple of breaths. And then roll over to your side and have a couple of breaths there. And then press up with your hands and arms. Okay, so we're going to come on to all fours for cat-cow. So I have a book here in my space. Give me a second, move it. All right, so as you line up on all fours, you want to look like a box. So that means that your arms, it's going to be good. Let's see, get on the screen here. So your arms are going to be parallel to each other from the front. And also there's a little bit of space between your knees. Okay, so that your legs are straight up and down. We have the knee side right next to each other. Our hips are going to be wider than our knees. So we're going a little space, just like lunge. Okay. And so again, also like lunge, our arms are not out in front of us either. Okay, I'm trying to get on the screen. Let's see. This is a new angle I'm figuring out on the screen. Try it this way. Yeah. All right. So this our version is a little different from how other yoga styles may do it. In that we're going to use our arms, abs, and legs to create the movement. So, and part of how we're using our legs, we're going to tuck our toes under and eventually we'll press through our toes. Okay. So we'll start once you're all squared off like this box. We're going to start by going into cat. We're always going to start by going into cat. So you'll start to round your back toward the ceiling, pulling your navel in half strength to help with the rounding out. The back of your hips will round back so your tailbone is lengthening toward the floor. You eventually, once your torso is pressing all the way up, you will drop your head forward and tuck your chin in towards your chest. So in this place, you will be exhaling. All right. And when you exhale, it pulls your navel in just a little bit more. You can also press through the toes, knees, and hands in order to distribute the weight evenly and keep your elbows straight. And then you'll need to inhale. So as you inhale, you'll send your breath into the back of your ribs, lifting them toward the floor, or excuse me, toward the ceiling, like hot air balloons. Exhaling, pulling your navel in half strength. And then you'll move into cow. So tip your tailbone out behind you. Your head is staying down. You're just tipping your tailbone out behind you. Your torso becomes parallel to the floor, and then you tip it towards the ceiling. The sit bones go up. And eventually you'll get a deep, saggy cow belly as the rotation comes all, or the undulation of your spine then gets to your neck, and then you can raise your head up. You're breathing into that saggy cow belly. And then you'll start to press into your toes, hands, and knees again, and start tipping your torso up. Let it climb your spine. We do not move the neck until the very end. And you'll do the same thing. You'll exhale and bring the navel in towards your back, which will help you round out towards the ceiling a bit more. You can inhale your breath into the back of your ribs, lifting that toward the ceiling like hot air balloons, and just keep going in this way where you're exhaling out when you come up and inhaling and letting your torso vertebrae by vertebrae start to come down, even sinking in between the shoulder blades. And when you get to those neck vertebrae, then you bring the neck up. And one more time, pressing into the toes, hands, and knees, using those arms and knees and toes, excuse me, to push and round you up. Keep your head up until you have the whole back is arcing up to the ceiling, and then you can let your neck and head come down. And we'll end in cat. Okay, so just come back to your heels. You can bring your knees together, come back to your heels, and shift your hips back towards your heels. Stack your fists in your hand. Let your head rest into your fist. Sorry, not stack your fists into your hand. Stack your fist one on top of another. That probably didn't make sense. And then come on up. So this is the marker pose that we will be preparing. So just keep the experience close. And then take your blankets. We'll refold for Karmasana. So you'll fold enough blankets for you to be able to sit comfortably. With your legs outstretched. Or depending on where you're at, it could be a little tight on any given day as well. So most of us are going to be on 3 folds. Come sit on top of that and have the low part of your shins crossed. And from here, you will open up your front leg so your foot comes out in front of the angle that your thigh was going, and the same thing with the other one. This should be a 45-degree angle and not more or less. And how can you measure that? Is you can open up one of your blankets like this, so you have kind of this square, which is a 90-degree angle, right? And if we fold that in half, now we have a 45-degree angle. And if you bring this up to your belly button, your legs should be touching the sides of the blanket. Okay, so if you're wider or too narrow, just adjust your legs to the angle of the blanket of the 45 degrees that you just gave yourself a visual on. Okay, so now if your thighs are being overly supported, so the knees are poking up, you can come forward a little bit, let your knees drop down, and you'll bring your hands to the floor, a knee pad or a block. So you can have the palms down, or you can be on fists with palms facing one another. Your arms are purposefully straight at this point. Your neck and head is hanging down. Lean into your arms. And you can, one at a time, press through your heel to lengthen through the back of your leg. So one leg, and then press through the heel of the other leg. Continuing with some gentle, easy breathing. And then we'll go into stage 2. So if you have any support under your hands, you can put that aside and let your torso tip forward. Everyone's hands should, if the hands reach the floor, you want the fingers facing forward and your palms up. Some of you may not be touching the floor yet, and that's okay. Couple more breaths in stage 2. This is another place where you could breathe into the back of your lungs, so into those back ribs. Turn your hands over, leave your head down, and just use your hands to tip your torso back up. Your hands will probably come back onto your thighs to help with that, and you can roll your head up at the end. Okay, now bring your feet together side by side. If you know what height that you need to be on for cobbler, seated cobbler. You can adjust your blankets now, but it may be the stack that you're already on. You can also have a wedge. And how we'll know is have your feet side by side and against the blanket stack and let the soles of your feet come together. And when you're sitting here, we're looking for our thighs to be parallel to the floor. So as I look at myself, I feel like I'm pretty parallel, but I'm looking at myself in the video and I'm seeing that, well, I'm kind of need a little bit more support today. And that makes sense. When you've been traveling, right? You have just literally schlepped a 40-pound bag around the last 24 hours, quite a bit. So I'm a little tighter. I did a little less yoga while I was away. So any given day is going to be different. So you want to check in and not necessarily assume you're at the same place each time. Okay. And then come back to the position with the soles of your feet together, your knees open wide. And I do feel a difference in this higher support. Feels more freeing. So slide the sides of your neck back. So ideally your ears are over your shoulders and over your torso, and your torso is over your pelvic bowl. Your sit bones can sink down into your seat. It's oh so common to hold ourselves up out of a seat, so we're really letting the torso, the head and torso settle down into our pelvic bowl, into the blanket, softening the knees out to the side. You might even notice opportunities for little micro adjustments. So, is your head up, your chin up, or chin down? And can you find that balance point? As you soften your knees out to the side just a little bit more, your torso rests down in your seat. Instead of holding yourself out up, you are allowing your body to be these blankets, especially to support you. And your sacral bones to be decompressed. We can try stage 2 for a few breaths. So come on down. You can either come palms down to the floor, or you could be on your fists or hands on blocks even. Okay, let your neck and head hang down. Inhale to prepare, and then exhale and bend your elbows and come further down if you can. And you want the soles of your feet to remain touching each other. So if that means you have to use some toe ball joint muscles, toe muscles to keep the toes together, you can do that. And then press up with your hands to come back to stage 1. And then we'll come down onto the floor and do a lunge. So squaring off in that position that we just did with cat-cow. With the knees are a little apart. And so the knees are under the hips. And you want the wrist under the shoulder. So this is very common for the arms to be a little too wide. right? But we actually want to bring the hands and blocks together so the wrists are under the shoulders, okay? And even from forward to the backward. So we're not too far behind nor too far in front, right? Really, we should be like 4 tent poles, okay? You can notice how your belly can sag down a little more. Boy, I actually notice how my little spine, my belly doesn't want to sag down as much right now because of all the traveling. Or it will, but it's tender. All right, so now lean over to the left and bring the right foot forward and through. Press into your hands and create some space for your right hand to go in and find the belly button. Go down and to the right an inch. You'll press your fingers through that belly tissue and pull your belly sideways on your thigh. And then you'll bring your palm underneath your chest so that your palm rests on the front low ribs. Push into the ribs, lift and lengthen toward your knee. Lower your hand down, lower your head, and shift your hips forward. Get your wrists under your shoulders and your ankle under your knee again. You want the arms and the shin perpendicular so that you can lean into the body and not grip and hold inside of the pose. So be looking for that sweet spot, to notice that sweet spot inside of your system. Are you holding somewhere? Are you pinching something? You know, where can you maneuver your hands and blocks your foot, the front foot, until you can lean into the body and lean into the bones of your body as your neck and head drape down. Couple more breaths here. Okay, and then press into your hands, shift your hips back, and bring your knee back down. And we'll switch to the other side. Squaring off on all fours. And then leaning to the right and bringing the left foot forward and through. Get super solid in this opposite side hand. So you have the left foot forward, right, and you're leaning into the right arm solidly and lifting up to bring the left hand in to find the belly button and go down into the left an inch. Pulling the belly sideways on your thigh. And sliding your palm underneath your front low ribs, you'll press in, lift and lengthen your rib cage toward your knee. Lower your hand and your head. And then shifting forward. Rearranging your hands and blocks to get your wrist under your shoulders. And scooching the foot to get your ankle under your knee. You will not be able to fully lean until you get those alignments where the arms and shin are perpendicular. We're using gravity to allow the leaning through the bones. If you're not balanced over your bones, you will be using your muscles to hold a position and not topple over. So play around with it as much as you need to find that spot. As your neck and head drape down, couple more breaths here. And then press into your hands, shift your hips back, and bring your knee to the floor. And we'll come back to the seated stack for seated side stretch. So you'll need your seated stack, your roll, and your box. So the same stack may work or may not work. Again, we're going to look for the angle that we have once we cross at the low part of the shin. You may have your wedge again, right? The rounded edge of a fold coming. You tip forward and bring it just underneath your fleshy part of your buttocks. So your sacrum can lean back onto it. All right. So if the thigh bones are parallel to the floor in this ankle, then you're on the right side stack. And if your knees are higher than your hips, then you need to bring your hips up to your knees. So you put more under your buttocks. If your knees are lower than your hips, then you're going to pull some blankets out and bring your hips down to where your knees are. Okay, so let's go right side first. So bring your right foot around to the side with your toes pointing out to the side. Excuse me. I'm on a hard, something hard over here, so I'm making an adjustment. All right, so from here, once your toes are poked out to the side, you're going to move your knee. So not the front leg, leave that where it is, but pivot from your right hip and bring your knee up until when you look from a bird's eye view, it looks like your knee and the foot would be flush if they were touching. Okay. And from there, you will bring a roll underneath your knee to support. It's just coming under the knee bone. And I'm wedging a block underneath because the roll's not enough for me today. So I'm lifting it up. I can fold another blanket, or in this case, it feels like the block under my knee is enough. Okay. And then I'm going to test to see, this is the second litmus test. It has a couple places where we check in. When my knees are round to the side, can I shift over to the right, and does that right sit bone actually sink into my seat? If not, muscles are holding and gripping everything up, and we would just come and put another blanket, another fold underneath our buttocks. Okay, but if it does go down, we're in business, and we'll bring the block to the right side. I have the block next to my body, somewhere comfortable. You can choose where that is. Bring your other arm out to the side from your shoulder. And I'm going to have 2 rotations. So the first rotation is my palm is coming forward. And then I rotate my palm to look up towards the ceiling. So 2 rotations and bring my arm up toward my head. I'm doing my best to keep my arm in alignment with my torso. Okay, I'm not going to come up and forward, in other words. All right, and then inhale, exhale, and I'm going to lengthen through my fingertips. So this is an active arm the whole time. And then I mount my shoulder up and let my head rest onto it. Inhale again and bend the lower elbow. Inhale and exhale. Bend the lower elbow. If your upper arm starts to bend at the elbow, we don't want to do that. We've lost some of the integrity inside the pose. So you're going to straighten your arm and lengthen through your fingertips again. If your outer sit bone is not connected to the seat anymore, you can always press into your hand a little bit, and that will bring your sit bone down. Couple more breaths here. And then rotate your upper arm up and out. Press up from your lower hand. And you can bring your block over and then bring your foot forward. Cross at the low part of your shin again. Nice place to pause and just sit in your seat for a few breaths to notice any contrasting awarenesses about your body or whatever just came alive for you from doing half of the pose. And then bring your left foot around to the side. Again, remember the toes are going to poke out to the side. They don't go behind you. In other words, they go out to the side. And bring my other gear over here too. All right, so from here, I will pivot from my left hip until my knee. It doesn't cross over my foot, nor is it behind the foot. I'm going to pivot until when I look over top, it looks like they would be flush if my knee and foot were on the floor. Okay. So from here, I'm going to check in, see if my sit bone goes down. So I lean some weight over to the left. That sit bone goes down. So I know I'm good. I don't have to rearrange anything. If your sit bone does not go down, please get another folded blanket. It could be fine on one side and then not on the other. So just always checking in. What does my body need right now? Okay, and if it's good, then what we do, of course, is start supporting the knee. I do not move the knee in order to support it. I'm going to bring a roll in, this kind of rounded side of that roll underneath my knee, not my shin. If that's not enough to create actual support, then I bring a block or something else in here, a Z, whatever it takes, in order to feel like this knee has some support. Okay, I bring my hand to the block on the left side. I'll bring my other arm out straight from the shoulder, and from here I'll rotate my palm forward and then my palm up towards the ceiling, bringing my arm up towards my head, trying to stay in alignment with my torso. Then I'll inhale, exhale, lengthen through my fingertips. I'm going to mount my lower shoulder up and let my head rest onto it. And then inhale again. On the exhale, I'm going to bend the lower elbow. Sometimes what can happen is we start rolling forward, collapsing kind of forward. So if you notice that, just press in your lower hand and get your torso back in alignment with your hips instead of out in front of them. And the upper arm also can get a little lazy and that our elbow starts to bend. So if that happens, just straighten your arm, lengthen through your fingertips. And if you notice that your outer sit bone is not connected to your seat, just press into your lower hand. That will shift your hips. And you will have support on both sides of your spine, which will create a completely different pose for you. Okay, a couple more breaths here. And then you can rotate your upper arm up and out. Press from your lower hand and bring your foot forward. And sitting here in Sukhasana or easy pose, and that is with the low part of your shins crossed once again, and making sure your head is lined up over your torso over your pelvis. And notice any continuing effects from your seated side stretch, or possibly any evening up that could be happening from completing both sides. Okay, your eyes can open, and we'll come down to the floor once again for our cat-cow. So we're squaring off on all fours. All right, so that means that we're forming this box-like shape. And so the wrists are directly under the shoulders and the knees are under the hips. So there's a little space between your knees for that to happen. And so the arms are and thighs, they're perpendicular to floor and parallel to each other. So perpendicular to the floor and parallel to each other. Now bend your toes and tuck them under. And we're going to start rounding the back toward the ceiling, pulling your navel in half strength to help you with the rounding out. So the back of your hips will round back so that the tailbone is lengthening toward the floor. And once you climb all the way up your spine, you're going to drop your head forward and tuck your chin in towards your chest. And you're pressing through the toes, knees, and hands in order to distribute the weight evenly through your elbow and keeping your elbows straight. And you will exhale and pull your navel in half strength to help the back of your waist round out toward the ceiling a little more. As you exhale, as you inhale, send your breath into the back ribs. That will lift them toward the ceiling like a hot air balloon. And then exhaling, pulling your navel in at half strength. And then we'll move to cow so you can tip your tailbone out behind you. And your torso becomes parallel to the floor. And then essentially your sit bones will tip up toward the ceiling. Your hips will tilt down towards the floor. And you get this slow, deep arch that climbs through your spine, from your low back through your waist, along through your rib cage, and through the shoulder blades, and to the base of the neck. And when you get there, let the arch climb up through your neck as you raise your head and bring it back so your ears are back by your shoulders. You continue pressing into the floor evenly through your toes, knees, and hands, keeping your elbows straight. Let your belly soften, your belly and chest open toward the floor. As you inhale, expand the breath into your belly and chest. As you exhale, let your spine soften and sag like an old cow. And then we'll just go back and forth. So start to tip your tailbone down toward the floor. You're pressing into your hands, toes, and knees. And that will arch your back up towards the ceiling, climbing your spine from the base through the middle, to the top, in between your shoulder blades. You're bringing your belly in at half strength. Your neck and head will tip down. Exhale and pull your navel in at half strength to help the back of your waist round out toward the ceiling just a little more. Inhale, send your breath into the back ribs, lifting them toward the ceiling like hot air balloon. Exhale, pulling the navel in at half strength. And then once again, moving into cow. So keep your head down and just tip your tailbone out behind you. It will become parallel to the floor, and then eventually it will tip towards the ceiling. So your hips start to tilt the other way. You get a slow, deep arch that climbs through your spine, from your low back, through your waist, and ribs, behind your heart and shoulder blades, the base of your neck. And as the arch climbs through your neck, you will start to bring your head up, and your head comes back. So your ears come back over toward your shoulders. You're looking forward. Breathing into this saggy cow belly. And exhaling and letting your whole spine soften and sag down like a cow's belly. Just one more round. Start to tip your tailbone down. And down, down, pressing into your hands, toes, and knees in order to distribute the weight evenly. As the rounding of your back climbs through your whole spine, you're not looking down yet. You're leaving your head up. Let it climb all the way up your spine. And then you can let your head come down. Still pressing through your toes, knees, and hands. And now you can exhale and pull in the navel about half strength, letting your waist round towards the ceiling a little more. Inhaling to send the breath into the back ribs. And exhaling to pull the navel in at half strength. And then you can bring your knees together and come back onto your heels, stacking your fists, letting your forehead rest in your fists. And then come up. So I'd love to hear a share about how that went. What was different from the first cat-cow to the second one?
Well, for me, it's Betsy.
Yeah.
It was the second one was a lot easier just because everything had loosened up in my spine and my hips. So I got a lot more movement the second time, and it also felt better getting that movement. It didn't feel so achy.
Yeah, the ick.
Yeah.
Yeah, the ick is not fun. Was it easier to coordinate all of those pieces by any chance? Did you notice that or no? You didn't.
The pieces aren't difficult for me.
Mhm. Okay.
So not particularly. It's been pretty flowy,
Yeah.
but just I could feel in the interior part was a lot smoother.
Mhm. Yeah. Got things moving.
Yes.
It's a good thing. I was just talking to the last class about sometimes I don't know what's more important, the chicken or the egg. And I don't even think it's chicken or the egg. I think they both just contribute. Movement begets movement, and an open spine begets movement, right? So,
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Movement begets open spine, and some, especially if you're thinking about opening your spine while you're moving and trying to open it, and then yeah, your open spine makes it easier to move.
exactly. Well, this can be you could feel how we're trying to really access our abs. I think that was even emphasized a little differently than I have before. Um, I was doing more of the breath work piece than we have done before, typically, like the breathing into the back, right? We pulling in with the abs, breathing into the ribs, pulling in with the abs again. So it can be until we really access our abs effectively, it can be a possible spinal tightener. So to release the spine, we're going to come down and do half frog. So if you are someone who needs a belly platform for that, you can start creating that now. If you're someone who can lay flat on the floor and do this, then you're just going to go right on your belly. And if you don't know, then when you get down on your belly, if you feel things tight or pulling, that's a really good sign. This is where, if you let me see you on screen, which is a little hard to tell because you're going to be on your belly, so you can't see the screen. Um, but we can try to work that out as well. I can look at your angles and help you with that. I've been on, typically we go, well, let's say this. If you need a belly platform, you need at least two. And if two's not enough, then we go up by another two at a time. And if you're up on more than two, sometimes people will need something for their head. So your head really can drop off the backside. So you can have something for your head on the other side, but never higher than the platform that you created. Okay. So I'm going to check and see if I'm on screen. If you don't need something under your head, don't use it. It's better for your head to create some traction. And you will lay on your belly. So as what's going on this belly platform is your belly and chest. Okay. So in other words, your hip crease where it bends should cascade off the back of the blanket platform. It shouldn't be on, and your belly is actually supported, so you shouldn't be too far back. Okay, belly and chest on the platform. And you'll lay down in the middle. Arms down by your side. Can you hear me, Betsy?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna lift up the lower right-hand corner of the blanket stack and bring my right knee out to the side and up until I can create this knee bone, wrist bone alignment. Okay. And then I'm going to slide my foot forward to create a 90-degree angle at the knee joint. And then I'll tuck my toes under of that long leg and bring my whole long leg in towards the midline and drop my toes down again. And then we'll rest here for a bit. So once you have the knee bone, wrist bone alignment, if you wanted to move that hand, you could move it wherever you want it. Couple more breaths here. And then you can let your foot come down and straighten your legs behind you again. Turn your head to the other side. Notice any contrast here. This is a big place where we can usually feel it quite succinctly. And then if you're on your belly with no blankets, you'll just bring your knee out to the side. But if you're on a blanket stack, you're going to reach down and pick up the lower left corner of your blanket stack and pull it up towards your hip crease. And I'm going to go knee bone to wrist bone. So I'll let the blankets go and line my knee bone up with the wrist bone. I'm going to slide my foot forward to create a 90-degree angle at my knee joint. And then tuck the toes of my back leg under and bring my whole leg in towards midline about a footprint. Drop my toes down again. And rest. Once you have your knee bone, wrist bone alignment, you can let that other arm come up or wherever it feels good for you. And then to come out, we're simply just going to roll over on our side, either on or off the blanket stack. And then press up with our hands and arms. Okay. So now let's prepare for JP and Shavasana. So we're going to take the blankets and refold them into our Shavasana stack. If you need a head pillow, please make sure you have your own head pillow ready, and also make sure your blocks are back behind the stack for your feet. And when you come down, you can bring your knees up towards your chest. And hold and roll to the left. And you'll create that same 90-degree angle. So we want the knee bone, wrist bone alignment, not the pinky knee bone alignment, right? Come all the way up to your wrist bone. Bring your palm on the side of your waist, the other palm of your upper arm, and you'll slide your feet forward to create this 90-degree angle at your knee joint. And if you prefer with your upper palm, you can tuck your fingers into your waistband. And just simply allow that back, the upper arm, the back elbow, and your shoulder of your upper arm to sink down, relax back, fall into gravity. Couple more breaths here. And then turning your head to center. And then bringing your knees up to center. Holding your thighs next to each other with your hands. And seeing if you notice any contrast here between the sides. And rolling. Sorry about that. Not used to teaching at this hour. My alarms are not set for Friday. Okay, so rolling to the left and coming into this knee bone wrist bone alignment. This is the most important alignment, so do your best to get this set up and bring your upper palm to the side of your waist. So all 5 fingers are forward on the corner edge of your belly, or you can tuck your fingers into the waistband if you prefer. And then slide your feet forward to create a 90-degree angle at your knee joint. Your toes can be stacked or the top toes forward of the bottom toes. And allow your upper shoulder and elbow to soften and sink back. You may notice some changes, some different kind of experience from this side to the other side. A few more breaths here. Then you can turn your head up to center and bring your knees up and extend your legs over your support. Excuse me. Letting yourself settle back into Shavasana. Your body be supported by the floor and the blankets. You can tuck your your shoulder blades in to open up across the front of your chest, and you can press your knees into the stack and do your hip scooch towards the stack as well. And notice what those 2 adjustments do for you. And then bring your awareness to your body again or still. And drawing your awareness to your toes and feet, outside and inside. And taking your awareness into your ankles, in and through the length of both legs, all the way up to your hips and hip joints. Noticing your toes, feet, legs, and hip joints outside and inside. And bringing your awareness to the space between your hips and hip joints, across the base of your pelvis, and drawing it up into your belly, in and across your whole belly, pelvis and belly outside and inside. And bringing the awareness across your whole chest. Including across your collarbones and the fronts of your shoulders, outside and inside. And taking the awareness down your arms into your hands. Notice your fingers and thumbs, thumbs and fingers, through your hands, into your wrists, outside and inside. And noticing through the length of your arms, your lower arms, elbows, upper arms, underarms, and shoulders. Hands, arms, and shoulders outside and inside. And drawing the awareness to the shoulder blades and the space between them. Becoming aware of the back of your ribs, the back of your waist, the back of your hips and buttocks, sacrum and tailbone. Being aware of your whole back, your whole torso, front and back, outside and inside. And taking the awareness from the torso through your shoulders into your neck, becoming aware of your neck outside and inside. and from your neck into your face and head, outside and inside. Bringing your awareness through your whole body, your feet and legs, torso, hands and arms, shoulders, neck, face and head, outside, inside, all at the same time. Or being aware of awareness itself. Rest in that. And then allow yourself to have a nice long and deep in-breath with a soft and easy emptying. And another. Wiggle your toes and feet. Wiggle and stretch your fingers and hands. Roll your neck and head from side to side. Stretch and move in any way you like. And when you're ready, you can bring your knees up to your chest and roll over to your side. Resting here for a couple of breaths. And then pressing into your hands and arms to come up. And bringing your palms together in front of your heart. Forming this mudra to seal your practice in. Every single cell of your body getting to absorb, contain, seal this next newest level of your practice into your system. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you, Anita.
My pleasure. Thank you.
See you next Tuesday.